about the world. So come on, yeah, let's take a stroll. It's Molly the Millennial. This is Molly, she is a girl. She knows nothing about the world. So come on, yeah, let's take a stroll. It's Molly the Millennial. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Molly the Millennial. On this week's episode, I am going to teach you guys some things, but I'm also going to tell you about my biggest pet peeves when it comes to email etiquette. Electronic mail etiquette. I work in an office, and I would say about 50% of my job is answering emails, and I can tell you that no one knows how to write a professional email, especially millennials. So I'm going to go over some of my personal pet peeves and also just some general rules you should know when drafting a professional email. So let's start at the top of the email, the to line. Make sure that you're sending the email to the correct person. Duh, but it happens all of the time. And make sure you're sending it to the correct email address. There may be times when you're dealing with one person who has a personal email address and a work email address. And you don't want to send a work email to someone's personal email because that can feel kind of intrusive. So make sure that you have the correct email address up at the top of your email. Now let's talk about CCing and BCCing people. So CC, or carbon copy, means that you're putting someone in the email but you don't need a direct response for them. CC means you want to keep someone in the loop on a certain email but you don't need a direct response from them, which is different than the to line. The to line, if I'm writing an email to John, then I expect a response from John. But if I CC Betty on it, then I don't really need a response from Betty. I just want to keep her in the loop. And then there's the BCC button, the blind carbon copy button, which is sort of like the cattiest thing about email in the world. The BCC button, blind carbon copy, means you want someone to see the email, but you don't want the people that you're writing the email to know that you sent it to them. It's kind of like backstabbing in the office digitally with electronic mail. But the BCC button in email is good if you're sending it to a large number of email addresses, because a lot of people don't want their emails to be public to the rest of the people you send a specific email to. For instance, if you're sending a big email to everyone who's coming to a certain party, you might want to put all of their email addresses in BCC so that way they don't have each other's emails. Some people want their privacy for some reason. Alrighty, so then let's move down to the subject line. If you are writing a professional email, please use a subject line. That's why it's there. If you mark it as no subject, oftentimes you're gonna go to spam and then you're gonna say, hey Molly, you didn't get my email. And I'm gonna say no, because it went to spam, because it looked fishy. And my email doesn't like fishy people. So always put a subject line. Make your subject line sweet and simple and make it relevant to the email. Let's talk about the body of your email. The perfect body of my email consists of these things. Please include a greeting and a closing when you're writing an email. Don't just jump right into business, like butter me up a little bit. Can't just go straight into business. So always put a greeting. Hello, hi, hey is a little informal if we're talking about a professional email, but put some sort of salutation in the beginning. Make sure you proofread your emails. I am the worst at this, and I will admit that I have sent many an email that have not been proofread, and then people laugh at me. One time I sent an email, and instead of writing calm a bunch, I wrote clam a bunch, so it was like, keep clam. What? So proofread, proofread, proofread. You don't want to look like a big dum-dum in a professional email. So proofread. This is huge. No one does it, but it's like one of the biggest tips. Proofread. Read it 3 times. Avoid using multiple question marks or exclamation marks. Those can often come across as rude or condescending or mean or any of those sorts of things. While multiple exclamation marks can make you seem really excited and bubbly via electronic mail, can also come across as kind of juvenile and immature. And adding multiple question marks to a question can come across like you're a dick. And speaking of being rude in emails, don't use all caps in emails. It comes across like you're yelling at me, and I do not like to be yelled at, especially digitally. So avoid using all caps. If something is important in the email, then substitute the all caps and just make it bold or underline it. And this one is kind of a new one for me because in the past 2 weeks I've gotten several emails that have ellipses in them, and just like the multiple question marks or the multiple exclamation marks, if you put ellipses in emails, then you come across as passive aggressive, and that makes me not want to work with you or email you back or continue to think that you exist as a person. So don't use ellipses, it's rude. And along that same note, just make sure that your overall tone in your email is appropriate and professional. And if for some reason something in a previous email frustrated you, then don't even worry about emailing them back and maybe just call them. We all know that in this world of texting and emailing, sometimes tone is really hard to figure out. And of course, always say please and thank yous in professional emails, especially if you're asking for a favor. Please and thank yous go a long way. And if your email is too long or has too many parameters, then again, don't send the email, just pick up the phone and call them. It can avoid a lot of miscommunications. Also, I'm really bad at this, and I will admit it, but please, respond promptly to emails. They say that the quicker you respond to an email, the shorter your response in that email can be. So in summary, just remember that you're writing a professional email. Proofreading is important. It's not a text message to your friends. Grammar and proper sentence structure are key. It doesn't need to be too long. And make sure you're sending it to the right people. And those are my tips and tricks to help you become not the most hated person at your office. You guys are the best. I'll see you next week. There. Bye. I was thinking about like clickbait in an email. Like
top 10 worst things you do as a friend.
Yeah, don't make your subject line clickbait for the email. Although that does sound fun.